Welcome to the National Black Environmental Justice Network Working Groups Orientation. The National Black Environmental Justice Network Working Groups include climate justice, environmental justice, international solidarity, racial justice, health justice, economic justice, and education justice.
Each of the groups are set up in order to have some consistency between them. Priorities were identified by a member survey, and each working group has 2 co-facilitators. The membership includes at least 5 folks from within the National Black Environmental Justice Network. The role of the facilitator is to set up the meetings from a technology standpoint, as well as to make sure that the meetings are run effectively. The co-facilitators set the agenda for each meeting. They also take notes at each meeting, or make sure that notes are taken, in order for members who are unable to attend a meeting can find out what has happened. It also allows members who may be in other working groups to find out what's going on in groups that they have an interest in. The working groups initially establish a regular working schedule that meets the needs of the members. They identify, most importantly, their working group outcomes based upon the priorities of the working groups. They also determine the group norms. By that we mean, how will the group communicate? What are the response times, whether that be days or weeks, and the number of participants that need to be engaged before the group moves forward on any of its tasks. Additionally, the co-facilitators assess the effectiveness of the working groups, both informally at the end of each meeting and then more formally during the process. So just to summarize, the co-facilitators help set the goals for each meeting, determine the next steps, keep a record of what the group is doing, and keep them on task in order to move effectively and efficiently towards the outcomes established by the working groups.
You can find the working groups in the membership portal. You are asked to choose at least 1 working group. Organizations, based on membership, you can have up to 4 staff members to serve on a working group. And for individual membership, you are asked to choose at least 1 working group to participate in. You can participate in more than 1 working group if you'd like. A minimum of 5 people, including 2 co-facilitators, are needed for a working group to be active. Co-facilitators serve for 1 year.
So our first working group here is the Environmental Justice Working Group. The priorities identified by member survey were environmental justice research and education, environmental justice campaign advocacy, policy and analysis, transportation, land use, and infrastructure. For the Economic Justice Working Group, the priorities identified were just transition for workers, reparations, equitable fair housing legislation.
The working group for focus on education justice priorities identified by the member survey are the HBCU government and investments, youth leadership development, and community-led engagement and education policy reform. The priorities of the working group for health justice are policy and legislation to eliminate racism, reduce pollution and environmental land, healthcare reform, community investment, financial and infrastructure.
The Climate Justice Working Group priorities include energy technologies and policy, particularly around renewable and efficient energy, research on the cumulative impacts of climate change, environmental remediation and waste reduction, and how to engage on decarbonization pathways to reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
The priorities identified by the member survey for the Racial Justice Working Group are Title VI Civil Rights Act, state, local, and federal campaigns against systemic racism in policy and legislation, and building political power coalitions. Priorities identified by the member survey for the International Solidarity Working Group or international cooperation: inclusion of environmental justice in U.S. international policy and international agreements, climate funding for domestic and international vulnerable communities.
Thank you for joining us for this orientation. I just wanted to remind you of the working groups that we do have within NBEJN: environmental justice, climate justice, international solidarity, economic justice, education justice, health justice, and racial justice. If you have any interest in joining any of these working groups, please reach out to us through your membership portal. Thank you so much, and we look forward to you all joining NBEJN. Have a wonderful day.